So there I am last night, trying to just slog my way through watching the Bears and Colts preseason game. And I'm on Twitter, and in the second half, all of a sudden, I see this report from Adam Schefter that Andrew Luck was going to announce his retirement on Sunday because he's mentally worn down and he's checked out. And I couldn't believe it. At first, I was looking to make sure this wasn't one of these parody or fake Adam Schefter accounts. Because the fact that something like this would be reported, especially with the timing of when it's being reported, while the team that it would be affecting is actually playing a preseason game, was absolutely mind-boggling to me. But lo and behold, it was true. And what a surreal experience last night. Watching all of this play out. As you're watching the preseason game, there's talk and discussion about when Andrew Luck is going to be available, and is he going to be available week one? How long could the ankle, calf, whatever the hell the injury is going to be, next injury, going to keep him out? To in the second half, as you get into the fourth quarter, all of a sudden the commentators are starting to talk about the big news that apparently Andrew Luck is going to retire. What a surreal experience. Imagine being a Colts fan there live in person, rocking your number 12 blue and white Andrew Luck jersey, to find out that your franchise, that dude, doesn't want to play for your team anymore. As you're at the game, as he's sitting there on the sidelines. That's crazy. There was one fan they showed who was taking his Andrew Luck jersey off at one point. Oh, crap, to be a Colts fan here. Oh, my goodness. But it's true. Andrew Luck confirmed it after the game. At the age of 29, after 7 seasons, the former number 1 overall pick out of Stanford, a guy many felt was arguably the most NFL-ready quarterback prospect since John Elway, even better as a prospect than Peyton Manning, has decided to call it a career. You talk about those types of things that come out of left field. You talk about those things that are shocking and stunning. This is right at the top of the list. Did anybody see this coming? Anybody? Anybody? You got to say, it sure looked like he was walking around fine after the game. Maybe this explains why Chris Ballard a week or two ago, when he was asked about Andrew Luck's injury status, they started migrating away from the calf and going to an ankle. I don't know, maybe this was some weird defense that they had already gotten word from Andrew Luck that this could be a potential possibility, but they didn't want to go there just yet because he hadn't officially truly made the decision just yet, and they were trying to come up with something to buy some time. If that's the case, it makes infinitely more sense than the defense that Chris Ballard was putting out there about the nature of the injury changing and so on and so forth. But my God, you want to talk about a kick to the sack if you're a Colts fan, if you're a coach on that Colts coaching staff, if you're a player on that team, if you're a member of that organization. So many things you thought could potentially be true for 2019 and going forward are, at least at this moment, no longer. And my initial reaction to it is this. Is the fact that he announced this in the middle of the preseason is a really selfish move. It absolutely is. He's got to have known for a while now that he was going to do this. And to leave your team potentially on the lurch like this and do it when you were going to do it in the middle of a preseason is inherently selfish. This is not something you would say would be a great trait of a leader or a teammate or anything like that. Now, you could also blame somebody in the Colts organization for obviously leaking it, because that's exactly what happened. I wouldn't blame Adam Schefter for reporting it, because ultimately he got the information, and this is too big of a damn story, too big of a damn scoop to not roll with. It's his job to put that news out there when he gets it. He had to do it. He absolutely had to do it. It would be curious to find out who maybe leaked it out there and what the motivation was. But Andrew Luck has put the Colts potentially in a very bad position. All that hope that they had that he would be the guy in 2019 again, coming off of that great season last year where they made the playoffs. He was comeback player of the year. And all that crap doesn't matter now. I mean, it's a selfish decision to quit like that in the middle of the preseason in the way that it's done. Quit on yourself, quit on your team, quit on your organization, quit on the fans, quit on the league, quit on all of that. That is selfish. And to sit there and say that this does not impact anybody else is just crap. Because it does. Imagine if you're a season ticket holder that spent thousands of dollars on season tickets with the primary thought being that Andrew Luck was going to be the quarterback of 2019, knowing that him being the quarterback factored into the decision of how much you spent on those season tickets, and now all of that is for naught. Imagine being a coach that decided they wanted to go to Indianapolis in part because Andrew Luck was going to be there, and now that is no longer. All the other people in the organization whose jobs are dependent upon the performance of the team on the field, which in no small portion is due to what you would get out of Andrew Luck. The other players that might have come there in free agency in part because of Andrew Luck. The other players whose jobs are partially dependent upon the performance of Andrew Luck. Like, this is not just an isolated thing where there are no other impacts. Let's get realistic here. But I got to say this too, as selfish as it is, and it absolutely is. Don't spin it any other way. The reality is this is a selfish dog-eat-dog world, and you best do what you feel is best for your damn self, period. How many of us wish that we could be in a position like Andrew Luck put himself in with his work and his career to be able to walk away at the age of 29 with millions upon millions of dollars in the bank and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm not going to go do it anymore. And be fine with that. I mean, those are life goals right there. You telling me if you didn't have $4 or $5 million in the bank right now, that if you were in your late 20s, early mid 30s, or in your 40s, that you wouldn't sit there, go in on Monday and tell your job to stick it because you're going to retire? That's exactly what the hell I'd do. I'd go in Monday and quit, and I'd go play golf every damn day and go find a sugar baby or two. That's what you do. That's what you do. But he put himself in a position to be able to do this. This world is all about leverage. Who has it, who takes it, who makes it, and who utilizes it. Well, Andrew Luck, based off of his performance in his career, looked at his body of work, looked at his bank account, looked at the lack of passion that he had for playing, the amount of injuries that he had to put up with in recent years, as he talked about in his retirement speech. The constant cycle of being hurt and having to go through rehab just got to be too much for him. And he just didn't want to do it anymore. Shit, I respect the hell out of that. As many times as the league will cut a player, even though they're under contract just because they have little to no guaranteed money left, fucking Andrew Luck is doing what's best for damn Andrew Luck. And for that, I salute him. It doesn't change the fact that it's a selfish decision. Because it is. And that's okay. It's okay to be selfish. Because if you're not, pretty much every damn body else around you most certainly is going to be. So you might as well get yours, because if you don't, somebody else will. And as far as what this means for the Colts organization, sure, this sucks. You in part let Peyton Manning go after the 2011 season because you ended up with the number 1 overall pick, because Andrew Luck was going to be the number 1 pick in that draft, to watch Peyton a few years later, even when he was washed up at the end of his career, that last season in 2015, win a Super Bowl with the Broncos. In the meantime, yeah, you made 4 trips to the playoffs with Andrew Luck as your quarterback in 7 seasons, but you never got to the Super Bowl and most certainly never won a Super Bowl with him. It'll be as much as anything else a disappointment and a woulda, coulda, shoulda, what could have been, what should have been, and what never was and may never be. And that's got to be a tough pill to swallow. There's got to be. Now, is this truly going to be the end for Andrew Luck? Maybe. Like, I remember back heading into the draft of 2012. What concerned about him was he's such a bright guy, and I think he was into dentistry or something at the time. I can't remember exactly what it was. Please forgive me on that. But there was some chatter about how much he truly loved the game and how much he was truly going to be committed and dedicated to it. And then you look 7 years later and he's retiring before the age of 30 because he doesn't want to deal with the injuries. Maybe that shouldn't be all that surprising. But he still had a hell of a career. I'm sure you'll see some people potentially pushing for him to be talked about someday as a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He didn't do enough. He didn't do enough. I'm sorry. He just didn't do enough. A few pretty good seasons in a league that is really designed to maximize what you do in the passing game is not enough. Is he going to come back? He could. I wouldn't be surprised if he never did. He feels exactly like the type of dude that would take inventory of the money that he has in the bank, his age, and what he could do with the rest of his life, and say, you know what, I want to be a family man. I want to go travel the world with my lady, and I just don't want to do this crap anymore. I could totally see him doing that. I could also totally see him staying away for a year or two and deciding that he wants to give it another go, perhaps. But if he did, and you're the Colts, you have to move on at this point. And even if he did come back and say, I want to play again, would you even want him? Because he already quit on you once. I mean, that's the harsh reality of it. He already quit on you once. Would you want to sit there and invest in him as an organization, knowing that if he got hurt again, he might very well just walk away again? I don't know about all that. For the Colts organization right now, if Andrew Luck doesn't want to be there, best of luck to you. Thanks for everything. F you. I mean, it's that simple. It's a harsh world, but that's reality. You go with the guys that are there. You can't worry about the guys that aren't. You go with the guys that want to be there, and you don't worry about the ones that don't want to be there. It's a great opportunity for Jacoby Brissett heading into his contract season. Now he's got a chance as the unquestioned starter in Indianapolis to go out there and show what he can do, prove what he can do, and in the process potentially make himself a shit ton of money. So if you're Jacoby Brissett, you're like, hey man, this is pretty badass. I potentially get a whole season as an unquestioned starter heading into a contract year. Life could be a lot worse. And if you're the Colts, you still got a young core there. Sure, Andrew Luck was a great player, but you can still win some games. It doesn't have to be a total death nail in the 2019 season for the Indianapolis Colts. It doesn't have to be. This team could rally and respond around Jacoby Brissett. They could find different ways to win. They could still potentially be in the playoff mix. That could also be incredibly optimistic. It's hard to gauge the impact that this is going to have on that team, that coaching staff, and that locker room. Because if the franchise guy didn't want to be there, how bad are you going to want to be there? This is fascinating, though. I saw Gil Brandt and others comparing this to Barry Sanders' retirement back 20 plus years ago. Big difference was, I believe Barry Sanders did it right as training camp was getting ready to start. This news broke on social media during the third preseason game when the Colts were playing. That is significantly different. This is one of the most bonkers things I've seen in sports in a long, long time. Going from thinking something is a rib or a joke or somebody just trying to troll to this might actually be legit. To oh my God, this is legit. And the Colts fans are booing Andrew Luck as he walks off the sidelines for the last time as a member of the organization. This is insane.